Call to order the meeting, December 15 meeting of the Economic Development Authority of the City of Lynchburg. First item on the agenda will be the call to order and the roll call. So roll call, Patricia Mosby is absent. Kimberly Sorensen.
Here.
George Ann Sneed.
Here.
Richard Tugman.
Here.
Sackett Wood.
Here.
John Stone. Here. Next up, approval of minutes for the November 17 meeting. Those are in your meeting package. Any comments, questions, additions, deletions? If not, I'll accept a motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Second.
All in favor of approving the minutes as presented, please signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, like sign. The minutes are approved. Next up will be Westminster Canterbury bond issue, Sean Hewitt and Paul Shelton. Welcome.
Do you want me to start now, or want to wait? Okay. Morning, all.
Hey, Sean, how are you?
I'm well. Hope everyone else is.
President Morning's come in.
Beautiful day. So TW is our bond counsel.
Okay.
He's in Richmond.
Okay.
Then we have legal counsel here. Cisco.
Hey, TW, it's Margette.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. So you are on the speakerphone, and Sean is at the podium, along with Paul.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for accommodating me and letting me talk to you about the bond amendments. Sean Marquette, has anybody given any background or?
No, but Sean is, yeah, TW, Sean is up at the podium, and perhaps he can give that, and then if you need him, Sean, he can chime in.
Do you have any hard questions?
There you go.
Or
Paul,
TW?
yeah, so TW, I've just got you on here to listen, and then if they have any questions, Paul, Sean has offered you up and Paul to answer those questions.
Okay, great.
All right, thank you.
All right. Cool. Thank you for having us. We've been here before asking for money, and you've been very kind, and we appreciate that. And this is interesting. We were approached by Truist a couple of months ago asking if we wanted to extend the terms of our loans. We're talking about $60 million in loans. This is not technically a refinancing, but a I guess seen as a modification or amendment to the documents. We have these three loans are supposed to have balloon payments around 2031. Two of the three loans will have balloon payments. One will be paid off, and we're talking around about $42 million. And come 2031, they are willing to extend out 6 more years and give us similar interest rates. There's some transition from LIBOR to SOFR. But they want to extend those terms for us, go 6 more years, keep the bank relationship that we have, and keep the loan. We have a swap right now, and we actually finance this. It's somewhere, the 3 loans are 2.8, 2.9, and 3.2, 3.3%. And with this swap, we actually have a nice asset on our balance sheet with it, and it's something that we don't want to turn around and try to go out and get interest rates. Mr. Horner was talking about the old days of him helping us get 7% interest rates, and we obviously want to keep what we have and just keep the relationship. So The good thing is the way these loans were structured, going out 6 more years will also help us pay down more principal pretty significantly on these loans as well. We see this as a really mitigating risk and helping with expenses for the next 6 years from 2031 to 2037. So a couple other things, notes I have here, just let me see, originally these were refinancing of existing debt, and 3 years ago we built our healthcare center. Is the money we're talking about, and I said 2 of these will continue going out to 2046 and 2047. And then I think the only other thing really, I think I've said about everything. Are there any questions for us?
No, it's really, seems fairly simple. Although these thousands of pages that we've got in front of us would imply it might be a little bit more complicated.
Just have some fees we'll pay to all the folks helping us out, but we believe.
So by doing this, do you take the swap asset and return it to the bank, or do you?
No, we extend it. We redo the swap.
Okay.
Yes. It's quite a fortuitous event in terms of the current interest rate environment, and there's no telling where they'll be in 2030, 2031.
Right.
And to keep, and actually, I just found out this morning from Tad Milton that the interest rate will actually decrease slightly, $35,000. I don't know that that's per year over the life of the bond, but it's quite significant to maintain that rate in today's environment. And it's,
Right.
when they approached me up with this deal, I said, really?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Stand by.
Yeah, what are you hiding, right?
I think our swap right now is positive to 8 or 9.
Well, probably close to 10 million now.
So I guess we could technically look for another relationship, but would obviously have the risk of where interest rates are right now.
Yeah, we did analyze the possibility of calling the debt today, taking the 10 million and refinancing, but the cost of capital, it's almost neutral, so there's no benefit. And then there's a cost of reissuance you have to factor in there.
TW, you prepared a proposed resolution, which I reviewed, which authorizes the execution of the bond documents, the amendments, and the new 3 bonds. And Lodgett received the package last night. I have not looked at it, but I've looked at the copies of the proposed resolution, the bond purchase agreement, and the new bonds, and I've approved. TW, you want to add anything?
No, I don't think there's anything else to add. I'm happy to answer any questions.
When will you try to close?
I think, probably before the end of the year. And then some of it just depends on what comes out of, I think, some discussions with the bank probably tomorrow.
Okay. All right.
So Ted, do we need to approve subject to your final review of those documents?
Yes, you need to authorize the execution of the resolution, the adoption of the resolution by the authority. And I'll review see. TW says there may be a few changes I'd like to see.
Okay. So if there are no further questions, then we need a motion to adopt the resolution for the amendment and the restatement.
Second.
Subject to Ted's final review. We have a motion, we have a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. The motion is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate your continued support. Have a good day.
Thank you,
Yes,
John.
sir.
Welcome, John. He's the newest member of the EDA.
Oh, really? Great.
Not official.
He's not official, but I'm just, while I've got him here.
The background check is going to be
Yep,
Thank you all. Have a good day.
Thank you.
thank you.
Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
You can just hang that up.
All right, so the next item on our agenda will be Will Absher with Campbell Insurance, who's going to review some of our insurance coverage. Welcome, Will.
Hi, how are y'all doing this morning?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. Again, Will Absher, Campbell Insurance. I just want y'all to know, I think probably the coolest part of my job is getting to meet people and new environments. 2 weeks ago, I met a client in the back of an 18-wheeler, and we did his insurance review there. This is a first for me, and that was a first, so very cool. Thanks for having me, though. Margette asked me to prepare a little summary, so I'd like to bring it up to you about our insurance program and premiums. So I'll put everybody's favorite page, the premium, right at the top. And so what I'd like to do is just flip through and go through these pages. And one of the unique things that y'all's program is in is has its pros and cons, but we have 3-year policies in place, which means me and Margette only meet every few years. And so we've just been through a renewal, and so she asked me to come in and just make sure that everything looked right to you guys as well. And so you'll see we have 2 policies in place. Please stop me if you have any questions. If I go quickly over any insurance lingo and need any explanation, I can answer any question I know, and if I don't know it, I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So first page, we have the premium page, and basically we have 2 policies in place. Both of them are with Cincinnati Insurance. The first is a package policy, which is where we're going to have our property and general liability, and you'll see the premiums associated with that up top. And then below that, we have our directors and officers coverage, which might interest you guys here on the board, which we will get to at the end, and you'll see the premiums associated with those. So as we jump into page 2 of the packet, what we have is our location list. Obviously, we've got this location in the Ramsey building, but we also have some property, some parking lots, and vacant land that the EDA owns and we need coverage on. I'd ask that just anybody here that knows these properties take a look and say if there's any missing or any that have been sold on this list. Part of that 3-year term is that we go quite a while, and sometimes if things are missed, they sit on the policy or don't sit on the policy for a length of time. So if anybody has any comments on those. Perfect.
Sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
They insured it. Like the assessed, because they're not constantly assessed, so what are they insured at, like replacement?
Yes, ma'am. So the next page is going to be the property page. No problem. No, absolutely. The rest of them, the land, we don't insure land. It's for general liability if someone were to slip and fall, get hurt on one of your properties. Yep. So as we move to the property page, we have 2 locations with property, one being this office here where we just have some contents coverage for whatever the EDA may own in this building. And then the big, obviously, chunk of your premium and where we have the most property is over at Ramsey Place. And you'll see that building limit there at $5 million. I did a little math yesterday before I came. It's a little over $100 a square foot. This building is interesting because I typically like to go to my properties when they're this large and take a look at them, as does Cincinnati. And because of the nature of your tenant over there, we have actually never inspected this building. We assume that they are doing the proper things to keep it safe and in good order. But this would be an opportunity if anybody is more aware of that building and what it would cost at this time. To replace. I'd certainly like anybody's input here. But $5 million is about what I assessed it at. Perfect. And we have a $1,000 deductible there, just so I just want to place that. And it is on replacement cost, ma'am. Yeah. Perfect. So we'll just continue through. Please, again, stop me at any point. Page 3 of 6, no information there. We get to page 4 of 6, and this is where we have our general liability, of which is the limit is $1 million. It's based off, what is the opportunity of somebody getting hurt out of your property. So here it's just based off your office area, and then of course your liability as a landlord out at the Ramsey Place location. And then the next page would have the acreage or the number of parking lots for each of the other addresses we have on the policy. Any questions? Perfect. So at the bottom, page 6 of 6, one thing that we did have, so I'll just give a little history. I started working with the EDA shortly after my time coming to Campbell around 2018, but you guys have been an insured of ours for longer than that. One of the items that I noticed on the way the policy had been written, and I think it had just been renewed, do you guys have any events that you host any kind of liquor, any reason we would have liquor liability on the policy?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So we have that coverage as well. I just wanted to make sure it was still relevant. One. Fair enough. Perfect. And then we have the city of Lynchburg at the bottom of page 6 as an additional interest, as they probably require it. Then we get to our final page, directors and officers liability. This is a coverage that renews every 3 years in May, and so the dates are a little bit off. $2 million of coverage for the board members if you guys were to be named in a suit, and $2,500 retention on that, and that dates back to when we placed the coverage in 2018.
A couple of questions on that.
Yep.
Are you aware of any claims against this policy in the last few years already? No? Are defense costs within the limits or outside the limits?
It should be outside. I was actually thinking about that right before I walked up. I will double check and send that to Margette. It should be outside.
That would just suggest that $2 million of defense costs that we're in, that's not that
Correct.
much.
Yeah, I agree. It should be outside those limits. I can confirm that.
Great, thanks.
Perfect. So I will refer back to that first premium page and just give the one change that we did make, Margette and I spoke about over the summer and into the renewal, which was October 30th. We did increase the business income, which would be your loss of rent if there was a fire or loss and you were no longer collecting rent from BWXT, I believe, to $300,000. That was just a little bit of property increase that we had. And one thing I do like about the 3-year terms is that you're locked in at a property rate for 3 years, and which is nice, especially right now with sort of what we're seeing on renewals every year. Everything is unfortunately going up. So one other item I did notice that Cincinnati has added that I would suggest we think about removing is that cyber line. Cyber coverage is something that all our carriers are sort of just automatically throwing on our renewals, and for a lot of my clients it's not really relevant, and I'm not sure that it is for you guys. You guys don't have any employees, so I don't know that I see a loss there. It's just something to consider. I'm sort of going back and forth about it, but I'm not sure it's something that's relevant. So I would like to follow up and maybe see if that's something that could be removed if we need to remove premium.
So an example of a claim that may affect us, wire transfers, that would be covered under that?
No, so this is primarily a liability coverage. So the Economic Development Authority is sued because somebody's sensitive information was wrongly leaked. And I just don't know, do you guys house any sensitive data for anybody? You don't have any employees?
We have people's financial statements.
Perfect, so it may be relevant then. Perfect. Okay. That's the reason I just wanted to talk through it. Any additional questions? Any concerns?
So the D&O renews in May, and prior to the renewal, you will update us regarding the defense costs question.
I will update you before the end of today.
And the only additional comment I would make, just $2 million just seems not a lot for potential exposures. And when was the last time that was updated? Has it been $2 million for a number of years?
Yeah, it has. So
What's
we can
your advice on the amount of coverage for this type of organisation? Would you expect it to be increased over a period of time?
I could certainly. I'd be certainly happy to quote it, and then we can discuss what adding another $1 million or $2 million would be. I think with time, it should be something that we look at, and especially with it going every 3 years, it might
It's a big gap.
Right.
So I just think that maybe it should be looked at.
Be happy to look
Speak
into
out of sort of personal interest here.
Fair enough.
It protects us.
Absolutely.
I think that it's something that should be reviewed upwards.
I'd be happy to do
just
that.
given the nature of things. Yeah.
And perhaps, Will, you could find out if you all cover anything like, you know, the authority, because it's a very different animal, so, yeah, something comparable. I don't, it would be hard to find, but if it's, you know, the board at a university, I mean, somewhere where you've got individuals that need to be covered when they are not always in control of how the
Be happy to do it.
work flows.
Is it 3 years by our choice or yours?
So it's certainly by your choice. There's pros and cons.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it, I was just curious.
Yes, I'd say there's pros and cons. Pros being that rates get locked in for that 3-year period, and you don't have the usual annual adjustment. The con, being that we're not reviewing it every year. You guys don't typically have a ton of changes, so
Right.
I don't know that it's necessary. And I'll tell you, probably one of the other pros for a lot of my clients is insurance isn't everyone's favorite topic, so they don't have to deal with me every year. But we can certainly change it to annually, and I'd be happy to do this review, once a year.
Melissa probably told us to do it every 3 years. So the main thing for me is that this usually is, this is not, I don't know that over time we had Campbell and had a relationship with them, but it might have been handled, with Ted and the accounting firm and not, through our office. That's why I wanted Will to come, so you all know exactly what we have, and that we can talk about this where you're in the driver's seat, not me sitting there. I certainly try to act in your best interest, but you need to know what it is.
I mean, certainly the meat of the cost is in ensuring the Ramsey Place building, right?
Thank you very much. No problem. And Margette does know where to find me. I'm only 2 blocks down, so you can come get me at any point. Yep.
Thank you, Will.
Have a good day.
Thank you, Will.
No problem.
All right, next item on our agenda will be Eddie Horner with Capron Asset Management.
Thank you,
Welcome,
John.
Eddie, welcome.
Appreciate it. Those who are not familiar with me, I'm Eddie Horner. I'm with Capron Asset Management. I'm on the executive committee, and we've had a long-standing relationship with the EDA since 2010 in managing a fixed income portfolio. It's about $1.5 million. Good news right now, it's yielding about 4.62 with the inverted yield curve and short rates going up. So it's a nice space to be right now. I'm here, again, we've been managing this portfolio for 12 plus years now. And our company, Capron Asset Management, has reached an agreement to be acquired by D.A. Davidson out of Great Falls, Montana. Actually, it would be acquired by their subsidiary, Davidson Investment Advisors, which is their asset management arm. We couldn't be happier. We've been in business about almost 23 years now, and we're a fixed income boutique. All we do is manage fixed income. We compete with the big boys, Main Street names, and do exceptionally well. We're very conservative, we're very disciplined, experience. We'll go toe-to-toe with anybody in the industry in terms of the municipal bond experience and as well as the taxable. We've been courted off and on over the years by a couple of large Wall Street firms, large mutual fund company, a couple of insurance companies, large ones, and then regional broker-dealers and banks. And we've gone down the aisle a couple of times, started down the aisle a couple of times over the years, but it just wasn't a good fit. And this acquisition or merger, a new partnership with Davidson, and I'll spend a little bit more time on that in a second, is a perfect marriage. The value systems that we share, the cultures, they're very conservative. They have a big commitment to fixed income, and they really value our relationship. The parent company, the CEO, Larry Martinez, very bright fellow, Princeton grad, Stanford law degree, but he's very humble, very bright, very conservative. And these negotiations have been going on for over a year now, and met with Larry several times. And at one point he said, Eddie, what's the most important thing to you going forward as we go down this path together? And I said, it's all about the end clients. And I said, we wouldn't be having this discussion if it wasn't for the trust and the fiduciary responsibility that's been placed on their shoulders. And the EDA is no exception. And I said, at any moment that I feel compromised or uncomfortable with this, we're not going to sign. And we've gotten to know them. They really respect what we do. They put a very high value on it. And the way the structure is going to be, again, we're under the subsidiary Davidson Investment Advisors. We can operate as a DBA, no change other than the name will go from Capron Asset Management to Capron, a division of Davidson Investment Advisors. Nothing else changes in terms of portfolio managers, their strategies. That's it. We will be a division of Davidson Investment Advisors, but there will be no changes at all other than ownership. We do have a 2-year agreement with them. We close sometime around the 1st of March. We are more than excited about this opportunity because they, well, combined, the two firms will now have coast-to-coast sort of, the optics look great for due diligence teams because we do a lot of third-party business with the Wells Fargo advisors of the world and the Morgan Stanleys and so forth. And when their due diligence teams come in and review, they look at a fixed income boutique shop and based in Virginia that's really have footprints in mid-Atlantic and the Southeast. That's almost an exception to them because they have more of a cookie cutter approach to their due diligence. So now we will have coast-to-coast representation in terms of portfolio management. So it's a win-win for everybody on the team, and personally, I could not be more happy. These are great people. Like I said, they share the same value systems that we have. They're very conservative, and they have placed a very high value in what we do. And a quick, brief example, too, is that our internal portfolio management system and trading system is called Perform, and it's highly customizable. They have the same system. We've met several times, but they're so impressed with what we have done in terms of the customization that they can learn from us. And then also, what they see is on a credit research side, we have built a very robust internal process where they were just really so impressed with that. It's just, I won't say light years, but it's certainly a great enhancement to what they have. By the way, we've never had an impairment in almost 23 years of business. No client has ever lost an interest or principal payment on our watch, which is we're very proud of that track record. So I'm here today to sort of give you the background behind all of this, but what was required is because the EDA signed an agreement with Capron back in 2010, is to transfer that ownership with y'all's consent over to Davidson Investment Advisors. That's the only thing that's required on your end. It's important, significant, and that's why I'm here today. But Margette has, I think, circulated the sample to all the members, I believe. And I apologize if I'm being sort of covering grounds that y'all are already familiar with, but just want to give you as much detail as I can. So we're looking for y'all's consent to turn that relationship over to Davidson. Nothing changes. It's still us. Mike Hoover will come up once a year. And Mike's, who y'all have met, he's on the executive committee with me. He runs the company day-to-day as president, but his taxable background goes way back to T. Rowe Price and large foundations and so forth and so on. This process has been going on now for just under a month, and we've not had any exceptions in terms of clients, institutions, so forth, that we're not willing to turn over the consent and sign the consent. So we're tickled with that. So.
Eddie, what are Capron's assets? 1.5?
We have 1.4 before the market sell off, but 1.3 now because valuations are obviously impacted. But the good news is yields are up. So we've actually had a lot of new clients come on board, John. A lot of fence sitters waiting for rates to go up. So it's more of a timing issue, but it's been a really good year for us in terms of new business.
Good. And what are Davidson Investment Advisors' assets before y'all's merger?
They're right at $3 billion.
Okay.
Yeah, and D.A. Davidson, the parent company, they have about 1,500 employees, 28 branch offices where they have their broker-dealer presence. They opened up one in Lynchburg about a couple of months ago now, I guess, perhaps several months ago now. You know, John, we're not the 800-pound gorilla, and we've never wanted to be. You know, we embrace that boutique label, and as you know, we don't have wholesalers. It's all pick and shovel work, and we like to choose their partners wisely, and we're very fortunate to have been in that position. So.
And I asked you this before, but I wanted to ask it so everyone could hear the answer. Our portfolio is custodied with Charles Schwab.
Yes.
And that will remain the same, correct?
Absolutely. No change whatsoever.
You've mentioned synergies associated with the transaction. Would you expect any job losses from this on either side, or is it basically you're so separate in a sense that you're going to leverage each other's platforms?
I'm sorry, Richard. My wife says I'm hard of hearing.
No, it's my accent, sorry.
No, it's a great
That's
accent.
all right.
It's me.
Two countries divided by a common language. Any job losses?
Yes. At this point, one, and we're tickled, and this person should have a seat at the table. We have to give up compliance, and we're just so distraught over that. I'm being facetious. We are turning cartwheels because it's expensive, it's a distraction, it's it's not a liability, but it's a responsibility we're tickled to give up. But the person, head of compliance, he's actually on the executive committee, Adam Plotkin. He's going to move over into client service. And it's a perfect fit because he does all the institutional, he's working with the home office like Wells Fargo in St. Louis and Morgan Stanley in New York, so forth and so on, Stiefel in St. Louis, excuse me, John. He's working with the home offices, so it gives him more time to focus on that and client service. So it's a win-win.
Okay. And this is an exit strategy for the current owners of the business. Kaplan is owned by presumably some of you, I don't know, and this is an exit strategy for you, is it? You're exiting out, are you retiring out, or?
Well, the short answer is at some point, but it's a 2-year agreement.
Yeah.
They've asked me to consider staying on after that. My counterpart with a new company is he's in Bozeman, Montana, wonderful fellow. And I was very flattered by this, but the senior team that we report up to, Larry Martinez, the chairman of Davidson, said, Eddie wants you to become his mentor, and we'd like to keep you on as long as you're willing. So told Ted asked earlier, we actually have a little cabin in Montana, my wife and I, and an hour from Bozeman, so I can, you know, it's sort of like throw me in the briar patch. Anyway, I'm sorry. Didn't mean to
Thank
be
you very
personal.
much.
No, thank you.
Any more questions for Eddie? Great. Eddie, thanks for coming to see us. We appreciate what you do.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. And I'll just circle back to you.
Yeah.
Call me. Perfect.
Next item on the agenda is CloudFit interns.
Yeah, John, I think you ought to take a vote just to authorize the chairman to execute the merger document.
All right, let's do that. Do I have a motion to authorize the chairman to execute the document?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Thank you.
Thank you. CloudFit interns?
So you all sponsored CloudFit interns last year, and that was an incredibly successful program. And so as they've debriefed on everything they did last year and are thinking for the year ahead, they have reached out to me to ask if the EDA would sponsor interns for the coming year. And so what we wanted to do is I wanted to be able to give them a placeholder for you all's interest, as well as build it into your budget for the budget that we'll prepare for you for '23. So the price of the interns, CloudFit brings the interns in. I think they're here for 3 months. And I do believe that CloudFit was actually able to place maybe 3 of them, but their goal is to have a really great experience there and for the interns. And they do they do service projects the whole time I went over to Jubilee. family center where they had spent a required amount of hours of the internship with the student, with the kids over there. And so the cost of the internship, I believe last year was $5,000 an intern, and you all sponsored 5 of those interns. You know, obviously you always take a audit after you've done it. So the cost of the interns now has gone to $10,000. And so that is, that's what they've brought, you know, to me to request and just to gauge your interest. So, you know, you could sponsor 3 interns and that would equal out the, you know, close to the 5 you did before, or whatever is your pleasure. It's really, you know, an incredible program and thing that they do.
Well, I don't really know much about it. Like, what, you said it was successful last year. What makes it successful?
Well, is CloudFit is very unusual in that these are the founders of CloudFit were lifelong Microsoft employees that rolled out, still do a tremendous amount of work for Microsoft, but bootstrapped this business. Carol Moon, who is the CTO, is from the Lynchburg area, closer to Alta Vista, and he insisted that the company that they rolled out be located here. So it's in the tech sector, and what CloudFit has found is that they're really challenged with attracting talent. And their talent doesn't necessarily need to have gone to a 4-year institution. They've tried to interface with public schools, the community college, all of the colleges around here to put programs in place. It's much more of an aptitude than it is, you know, a certification. If you are so inclined, they can take you at any walk in life and put you on board at their place. So their growth is really contract contingent, and as they go through, obviously, as I said, Microsoft is a huge client of theirs, but done an awful lot of work in the defense space, and one contract could cause them to turn around and have to hire 150 people. So one of the things they're really committed to is they have a nonprofit set up, and part of their charter is that they give X amount of their profits every year to KidFit, which is the name of their nonprofit, which is really trying to influence children or provide great experiences through sports. But they also have this internship program where they bring, they have an application process. The interns that you all sponsor come from the city. So that's our requirement, is that these students or folks come from the city that go through this. And so they have an immersive experience, Sackett, where, yeah, and they will place as many as they can here, but what they're doing is really they take as many as they can at CloudFit, but they're also hoping to intersect with other businesses within the city to provide IT professionals to them as well. So it just took off, I believe, last year.
This will be the third.
The 3rd year, and so I think they're, you know, looking to build relationships with other companies here that may need talent of that sort, but it's also a requirement of the interns themselves to do community service projects, you know, while they're here. So it was pretty unbelievable what they did with the kids from Jubilee last year. They actually even ended up buying, you know, a certain amount of them iPads. They went out on their own and raised the money and did all that. So I think it's a great, much like your company does, very altruistic in terms of not just being a corporation here, but being somebody that looks around and says, what can we do to make the climate here even stronger?
Are they paid internships?
Yes.
Did they start paying them a lot more if it's doubled in cost?
I'm sure that when they set, as all of us do when they set out to do it, they didn't realize what, you know, exactly how much it was going to be to really do it, right? Like, as all of us know, interns are great, but most of the time you end up having to take all your people off of their existing projects to work with the interns. And one of the big things CloudFit tries to do is to have these interns actually work on projects, meaning have somebody matched up with them so that they aren't just there observing. They are actually doing, working on something, not only on the community service side, but an actual project in the IT space. So I think they just undershot what that was going to cost. But before, when we build it into the budget and when we look at all that, they really asked me, they just said, would the EDA be interested again, right? Because they're trying to stand up. Where do they need to go perhaps for other funding and guidance? And they usually always come to us first to ask any of those kind of questions. So I just wanted to put it out there to you all because the price had gone up. And I'm happy to go back to them. And I told them I thought you all would be interested. But at the same time, I could find out, ask the question, what was the biggest, expense that you saw that you really weren't expecting?
And all they're asking for a commitment, and this expense actually will not it'll hit your FY24 budget, so we'll budget it. We're just asking for authorization to let them know that we're interested and we'll budget it for 24.
Just one historical reference. We've done this in the past.
We did it this
No,
year.
but with other companies.
We've never had a company approach us on anything like this. They're kind of setting an example from workforce development, like, don't wait for the outside world to do it, you do it. And if you do it well enough, maybe you can do it for other companies. You can help other companies by providing a job lead.
But we're open to do it for others if we...
Oh, sure, absolutely. We're open to bring anything to you all if,
I guess one of the things would be, I'm not sure other people know that you would do it, so
If they get
broadcasting that might be, even that, I don't know how you do that.
well, they certainly put it out there that we've been a partner, right? So, I think I can safely speak that, workforce development is the bane of almost every company's existence, trying to figure all that out. And so for a lot of them, there are a lot of organizations nonprofit organizations that claim they work in that space, but it's very confusing and doesn't necessarily produce the results.
You might have said this. Do you recall how many interns they had last year? Total?
That was
We
just for
sponsored
us,
5
though. It was more than
interns.
that.
They had 15 interns last year. We sponsored 5.
Yeah, I know it was something like that. I was trying
Do
to
we know
count
how
the
many
heads.
ended up at other companies besides their own?
Yeah, I don't think any. I mean, I think
It'd
that.
be nice if some had.
Yeah, but I think they struggle too with trying to get the attention of other companies to bring the, I think that's what they're trying to do is build it so that when they're interfacing, they've got people, they've got places where they could talk to another company and say, we just ran these people through here, are you interested in any of them?
Well, if they were largely high school and college students, they probably weren't landing anywhere necessarily.
Yeah, I do think they hired, I do think they
We can also
did.
bring this back in January with more data.
Yeah, sure.
I'm happy to do that. We've covered it significantly in our newsletter and blog, so I can make sure, we'll go back. We've interviewed the interns and we can get some more information on job placement.
Yeah, sure.
Roger, one of the requirements was that they be residents of the city.
Right, that's what I said, yes.
Of our dollars, yes.
Not
Either
all of them.
either Lynchburg City Schools or Lynchburg colleges and universities.
Yes, I think it sounds great. I just wondered to make sure that if Centro comes to you and says, we want you to sponsor 10 internships for coding, or BWXT comes to us, and, are we ready for that? Is that?
Well, I think the main thing is you only have as much money as you have, and so everything's dependent upon what you have and how you have it, and once again, it would be based on the, you know, the merits of the program.
But are you concerned that we have the right process around evaluating that? I mean, I suppose the points being raised is how do you really
Right,
evaluate and
absolutely,
prioritize them?
absolutely, and that way, and that's a great point, and I would probably interface with, you know, Virginia Career Works, Tim Saunders, and Tracy Bledo, and folks like that to say, how does this program, you know, in you all's minds, you know, fill the needs of what is out there, you know, to be done, and how perhaps could you all, like I said, we've covered it in our newsletter, but I don't know that, you know, companies are reading that and going, oh, that sounds great, I'll contact CloudFit and see whether they had anybody that could, you know, be available for one of our jobs, because I think they do say, we can't physically hire all these people. So,
And
yes.
perhaps it's that you all set aside an amount annually in your budget for internship programs, and then companies can make application, and
Yes.
we offer it that way.
And then,
That, to be more equitable. That's
yes,
the
and
concern.
then to bring in some outside, you know, folks
set
to
some
say, how does
parameters around that.
how does this interface with the work you're doing?
Because, I mean, to your point, maybe 30 isn't the right amount. Maybe it should be 75, or I don't know what the number is, but then
Yeah.
people are, the door is open to come in and apply, and it's a well-guarded secret.
Right.
And not because you haven't tried to.
Yeah,
get it
and I
out
think
there,
the
it's
other
just-
part is that we would
And I
really,
think you
once
misunderstood
you all
exactly.
vote on it, that means
Yeah.
extra work on us. So we've got to evaluate it from that perspective too. Meaning if you know, if you have an amount of money and people are applying for it, then staff has got to do all of that, so, yeah. So we will, these are all fantastic questions, and definitely things that we need to look into, because one of the things for me with CloudFit is, it is well guarded, like Georgianne said, and they don't exactly know how to go to the outside world to look for, you know, funding beyond what we would do, right? And that's what they need to do to, if they are going down this path, to sustain it. It won't be us.
Who else is supporting that program besides us?
I don't know. I don't
As
know
a
if they're,
nonprofit.
That'd be another
There's
question.
other-
I'm sure no nonprofit is,
Right.
unless they go to Greater Lynchburg Community Trust or somebody to apply for it. And, you know, most people don't know any kind of workforce development thing that they would go there.
My concern is with it being relatively unknown, that it could be misunderstood, being well guarded as it is. That's my only concern. And how can we change that?
So do we need to, I know CloudFit wants a commitment from us. Does
But they
that-
would be happy to answer these questions, so we'll just say you had questions, and
We'll follow up with them.
and we'll follow up with them and let them know that, you know, I think they're, like I said, I think they're also interested in the same things you all have raised, which is, how do we make this program more visible? And who are other partners, you know, that may come into the space to work with, you know, and not to work with us, right? You don't need, you know, you might have a nonprofit or somebody that's giving you intel on what's open out there, but most nonprofits are trying to help on a workforce development level that's at a lot lower level than what some of this might be, right? And they're certainly not going to give you money. But the Workforce Development Board, you know, when they have funds that can be deployed for training purposes and whatever, they may be able to do that.
outreach program is to other companies
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
trying to take some of these on.
And they may find that they can't continue down the road to expand it in this way because, going to other companies and interfacing and doing all that
It's work.
becomes a nightmare administratively when you're trying to do your,
Sure.
your own business. Because I think that's some of what they found out on the cost of it per
15
intern.
interns at all is a big undertaking.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
I mean,
'Cause
it's an admirable
one
program. I think we all
No,
agree.
it really is. Like I said, the Beacon of Hope interns that we had here, no. It's too much work. It was a lot. Yeah. And I would, you want to do that, but it's like, it needs to be structured in a different way. I can't afford to have that many, it was really taking them around and showing them everything. It wasn't any, and that's nobody's fault. It's just, it happens quickly and nobody wants to say no because we all know that we want the youth that we have here to be exposed to careers, but we've just, that's inherent in why we've done those programs in the past, and all of you, all the companies have been willing to help us, but at a certain point, they can't do it anymore. So we'll go back and get more information because you all's questions would be the questions any other business would ask them. And if they are trying to partner, them being prepared with all that would only be a good thing.
It sounds like the general consensus is that supporting high-quality, local technology internships makes good sense. It's just a matter of, is this the system?
It's perfect. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Okay.
What's next?
Poplar Forest.
Poplar
So I
Forest.
dropped this in there, sorry about that. But you all approved in January of this year, an incentive for Poplar Forest because they were putting the new entrance. It's actually now, the address is in the city of Lynchburg, so it's over there off of Enterprise Drive. And it's to be used for infrastructure. And the infrastructure was a traffic signal. And that traffic signal it's been installed, it's been inspected by Public Works staff, and all the work is complete. So Poplar Forest ended up spending about $5.5 million on the entrance. I'm sure you all were invited to the grand opening of it, but it is a mile?
It's 2 miles.
2 miles into the actual property, and it's got trails and it's lovely. But the big thing is that the entrance now is actually at a place where the city could generate revenue from the restaurants, from many stores, from Apple Market, from all of that. So the actual traffic signal will belong to the city. So it's been inspected and taken back. So I have been waiting for Public Works to inspect it. Allison Ramsey is the CEO at Poplar Forest, and they've spent the money and given us all the receipts, and I was waiting on Public Works to approve it. So I'm asking you all to vote to release the funds for Poplar Forest.
Any questions on that? Do I have a motion to vote to release $100,000 in incentive funds to Poplar Forest?
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. The vote to release $100,000 is approved. And last up is what, staff report?
Staff report. So we have submitted our budgets. I have speed budgeting is tomorrow, where I go meet with Donna and the finance director. And in that budget, we've requested a new position, another business manager for our office on the economic development side. Anna is still serving as the acting director of communications and public engagement. We have our stakeholder meeting tonight. We're going to change that name. It drives me insane. We are meeting with the tourism folks tonight, the hotels, the restaurants, all that's going to be at the Water Dog. You all are all invited. I can't say enough how important visitors are to this economy. I don't really know that it gets the attention it deserves at a council level. At times, I believe when you say the word tourism, it just conjures up in people's minds, lower wages or, as far as a sector is concerned, but for the city. And when you look at, when you start to watch the budget meetings and you see that the sales, meals, lodging, all of those trust taxes are very robust. The city has rallied from pre-pandemic. We're at about 120%. And to me, it is something that I knew in the pandemic that when we came out of it, that we certainly want to do everything we can to keep every business, all of our manufacturers, we want to keep them. We are working as hard as we can to get site development done, and it's expensive and time consuming, but it must be done. As a matter of fact, yesterday we were notified that the EDA and the Office of Economic Development, as well as Campbell County and the airport, was awarded a Go Virginia grant for $190,000 for the airport commerce park. And that's been 25 years in negotiation between Campbell County and the city and all of that. And so that is fantastic. But we are, we have 5 colleges and universities here, and the way that those individuals impact this economy is that those trust taxes side of it. And so that is a big piece of our economy, and it also drives a lot of the what we call the non-traded sectors. The traded sectors are those that go out and sell their products to the outside world and bring that money back home to roost here. The rest of it, the personal services and some of those things are kind of washing each other's laundry, right? They're here, but they drive off of what our population and what folks do here. And so a lot of the things that the city would invest in, including safety, but parks and rec, all of those things, benefit our citizens as well as what attracts visitors here. So I just think that, and ours is pretty bulletproof because our tourist is not somebody coming here to an attraction necessarily. It's somebody coming here to visit a business or our colleges and universities. So it's really driven, by that. And so anything that we can do, to grow that. And there was a lot of what we believe low-hanging fruit there by just publicizing more the assets that the city has and trying to get attention put to taking those assets and growing them. So I want you all to be our our ambassadors for some of that, right? You all bring people here, Richard, everybody here trying to attract talent, trying to attract sensors, trying to attract doctors, trying to attract business, all of that. All of the things we do for the visitors help do that side as well. There's a lot of synergy there in that side of it, but what that generates on the tax side of it can be really beneficial to helping us get some of these other things done. So that group tonight, we've expanded it significantly from what it was under any tourism program that the city supported in the past. I believe what we have going on right now in our office from a tourism side is the best the city's ever had. I'd go toe-to-toe with what they did at the Chamber of Commerce years ago. I mean, in my opinion, we've left all that in the dust. The model for that has changed significantly in terms of how they view themselves. Tourism, what used to be you bring somebody in from 50 miles away, I'll take the county's money all day long. You don't need to be 50 miles away. Just need to come here and avail yourself of the things that we have. So we've taken that list and made it much more robust than just the hoteliers. right? And the hoteliers, in many cases, have their own brand and have their own directions as to what type of business they really want to take. What I'm trying to do is drive all of the visitor services business, not just lodging, but restaurants and all that. So I feel like we've done that, and tonight we have a record group of people coming out for this. Dave Henderson's done an incredible job, as you all know, on TripAdvisor, and he's going to speak a little bit tonight, but we've really brought that group together so that a lot of the arts and cultural folks come and they see themselves as a huge driver, you know, in that space. We've always thought that and tried to promote it, but we can't do it alone. So we're getting everybody rowing in the same direction. So if you have an opportunity, please stop by. It starts at 5, so you don't have to stay long if you got a million other places to be. So really exciting, and on that same front is that we're working on that venue, moving really quickly, working on the venue for the Riverfront Park, and that is a very exciting piece, is to get the amphitheater, thank you so much. I was seeing it in my mind, I couldn't call it. The amphitheater finished, and have that space curated down there with program that space and activate that space. That's what I'm talking about driving people in here. That is moving forward really rapidly. We hosted last week VEDP and KPMG for the other grant that we've applied, that you all have applied for and we've applied for. For Ivy Creek Sites A and B, and we hope to hear something about that by the end of the year, the 1st of January. So that's probably about $260,000 or $70,000. All of these are for due diligence, so that we will have cost estimates on access to these sites, as well as what this sewer and infrastructure will cost, so that we can program it. And Co-Starters was just wrapped up on November the 14th. And we are working on, you know, based on the closings that have happened this year, which have been, you know, it's very serious, but not a lot of control that we could have had over any of those. But I've shared with you all the Chimera report that was done for council. It was done specifically for the city. I think that's very important, that when we're looking at the economics and we're looking at all of the trends that we extrapolate from the region and look at the city, because we're very different from the counties. And so we're looking within the Chimera data that we subscribe to and all of that, and putting some numbers and strategy together for the new council. And we're hoping that that'll be somewhere in the first quarter, a joint EDA and council meeting to kind of look at and set those priorities. So for me, the rest of today will be spent interviewing firms that are going to work on the city's new comprehensive plan, or the update to the city's plan. And if you've been watching council anytime recently, you realize that there's a lot of head knocking between what developers are coming here and wanting to do and what council feels comfortable with. So I'm really hopeful that this comprehensive plan, with the community engagement that it will do, and looking at where we sit today, because these plans are done like with a 20-year vision, and 5 years, 3 years, now the world can change. And so I'm really excited to be part of that, because I think I've really been able to see, how different it is from the vantage point from perhaps sitting in a community development seat as a planner, and the vantage point from a manufacturer or the colleges or some of those things that are looking at what they need to do on the ground. So, and then you've just got the press that we have gotten.
I just want to add on the Riverfront Park amphitheater project. It's amphitheater, it's restrooms, it's playground, it's a full build out of that park. We have scheduled a public open house, public engagement for Wednesday, January 11th at 4 o'clock. So we'll let you guys know when that location has been determined. But just if you're interested in that project, that will be our public engagement around that.
Is the amphitheater to be built into the back
It's on
rock?
the right. If you're looking
But-
down at the park, it'll be on the right side.
So it's a whole new build?
Yeah, it's a whole new structure. You need to see it. It's
beautiful.
amazing. It's gonna be down at the Bikes Unlimited end, and the playground's up at the Water Dog.
By the splash pad.
end, and where the splash pad is, but
At the water dog, kind of behind the water dog.
no.
It's down towards the
It's
light.
near Bikes Unlimited. It's where Billy McBratney's old office was, down near Waterstone. So it's a beautiful structure. I mean, it's a game changer for Lynchburg.
Sorry, I should know this. So the city is putting the money in.
Yes.
How much is it?
The city has used part of their ARPA allocation. The total project cost is $4.2 million.
What is our?
American Recovery. It's the
COVID.
second. It's the second CARES.
COVID.
COVID money.
Covered money.
Yeah, they've just moved,
Yeah.
things that they didn't use, they've been able to move that. And the other part of it is that the idea behind it is many times we build things and then we can do nothing else. This is being built with the idea in mind that it be operated and programmed and not just by nonprofits, right? Like actually operated by, professional for-profits in that space. And so that just brings a whole, to the citizens and to, from downtown and bringing people in from outside. I think it's incredibly, incredibly exciting. We've always run that riverfront down there like it's, a Miller Park. We have not programmed that space so that it actually functions as a revenue generator and a tourist attraction and, filter out from there. So it makes it, when you do something like this and pull the trigger on it, tightens everything up going all the way up the line. You got to get the parking straight. You got to get the aesthetic straight. You got to get all those other, it just kind of the domino effect there. So it takes courage, and Winter got it approved in the last budget cycle. And I just think when citizens see things like that coming out of the ground, and then we'll see what it generates, that it creates a lot of excitement and public pride.
Is the 190 at the airport, is that also due diligence? Like how would you put in a road, how would you put in sewer?
Yes, because
Are there
that's
any
always been,
environmental issues, that kind of
yes.
thing?
It's always been a sticking point. We had a master plan done out there, and it's always been a sticking point. There's a firing range out there, and then there's a fire, safety building out there. And the road was always the big ticket item. And since the property is located in Campbell County would, collect the taxes just like they do at the airport. We've got a revenue sharing agreement that we already drafted, but the airport will actually, because it's right outside the fence, the airport will actually, and the airport commission will actually, handle land leases and whatever goes on out there. And, they'll be able to use, there will be aeronautical uses like hangars as well. But the road was a sticking point. And so when we had the master plan done, there was, just like we had it done in 2009, and when it was redone this time, we found 2 new sites at Ivy Creek. They found that the road may not have to be as expensive as we originally thought, and that will allow everybody to move forward on it. So it's, for us, it's a big tract of land. The city owns the most valuable piece of it, the big tract of land. And so
How many acres is in the combined area that could potentially be developed?
I think we were talking about this last night. So I think it's of what could be developed. I'm thinking it was like 190 some acres, and of that, maybe 60 or something like that. My original, what set me down this path was earlier this year getting a lead for a 500,000 to 600,000 square foot building. So that's what I wanted to place on there. But that, you know, what I'm not bucking for sergeant here. This is a big turn, as I've told you all. We haven't had a project in CIP looking forward for 17 years. So I just want to be able to have, if you're going out to market property and to market your city, you need to have a site that you at least have access and utilities to. And then the big cost a lot of times is the grading. And the grading could be negotiated or looked at once you had the prospect that you know, that really makes that worth it. But if you can't get to it and you don't have any utilities, I mean, it's a joke to be putting it out there for people to look at. And almost every site we had, private sector or the other, didn't have access.
Which makes it land and not a site.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's right. That's exactly right. That is exactly right.
Did this group do the Lynchburg Loves You ring? I just want to make a comment. I think it's brilliant. And I love coming into the city with the bridge on and I just think it looks great.
But just, I mean, stop for a moment, if you will, here down memory lane, and just think about how much staff we have in our office to pull off these kind of things that have needed to be done for years and years and years in order to holistically, you know, attract talent, do all of these things. And I'm not saying it does all that ball game. I'm just saying to start down those roads where the city is being recognized and that you've got a brand and you're trying to engage your residents. I mean, we didn't,
You all did this.
yes.
Didn't have a consultant come in.
No, we did have a consultant,
Sorry, I
but it was the business community that engaged with us, with the consultant, and drove all of this. And drove, you know, like I said, the consulting group was absolutely unbelievable, and we were the toughest critics of saying, how are we going to sell this or how are we going to do this? And Ann and I both, when they came back and took the information from the focus groups, which is about 75 businesses and nonprofits and all kinds of groups, when they described the city that they heard, or how the city wanted to see itself, or how this group wanted to see itself, I mean, both of us were in tears. Really, because it was just like, are you kidding? I mean, it was aspirational, sure, but it was what your own people had said about what that was, right? And it's just, there's just so many things that I think as I look across how I've been here, that people would have no idea that the city, this body, has been engaged in, but success all over this city has the thumbprints and handprints of the Economic Development Authority, and an office here that has to look holistically and say, you can't just focus on one, you've got to be focused on many things. And that's where I see us right now when it comes to land use and some of these different things. We've got people that every piece of land within the city, and rightfully so, they are looking at it to buy it, to build apartments on it for the students that are coming here. It's not necessarily workforce housing, right? And so you've got some conflict there between the two. So the city just has to look at how all of that comes together, try to work together on those types of things. And so that's what we're committed to. But I feel the same way. It's just so great to hear from you. It's like every time I see those banners, I'm like talking to myself. And when I ran the 10-miler, and when I do that, it just gives you a sense of the city. And what I was saying before is, if you haven't seen the video that was done by this group, and we tried to make it evergreen, not just an annual report video, but a video we could use to send out to prospects and all of that. I mean, we didn't get any comments whatsoever from upstairs or from city council, but what we've had online about it
Why don't we play it?
is unbelievable. And the
Play it when we adjourn.
and the video is being narrated by the daughter of one of our co-starters graduates. So how old is she?
14.
14. Come on, y'all. But that's what I'm saying, it's like, how we're being responded to when we put this out here with our regular citizenry and all of that is exactly what we wanted to have happen, even though we didn't even get a, you know. Like, that's what I do when I get in the council chambers, I play one of these and I'm going, boom, and it's just like shark eyes. Trust me, I just want to go. I'm from here. Don't make me come across that day. Okay.
I want to tell you that no one is more excited to have a gift certificate to the farm basket than me. Thank you.
I have to tell you though, Sackett, when I saw you down there the other day,
That was intentional, Sackett.
unbelievable, unbelievable, what was going on there.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Since Sackett's leaving, should we adjourn? All right,
Yeah, and I'm kind of on a tight time frame.
Yes.
We had Senate committee.
all right.
Yeah, I'll move
We
quick.
are done.
You don't
Meeting
have to do
adjourned.
anything.